Salutations, Globehead Sheeple. This is Meta Sheep Slaughterhouse. I'm Dr. Cancer MD, here with another disgusting stun deck that I've created for you. Today I have Qliphort, which just so happens to be my favorite deck of all time. It's a pretty old power creep deck, but I tried my absolute hardest over the years to keep it updated and keep it able to compete with the current meta. And I've been able to top a couple locals with it, so let me show you my favorite deck of all time. Triple Qliphort Scout, this is my favorite card of all time. It pays 8, and then you feel great. Basically, it's just your searcher. It's a soft once per turn, so if you have multiple copies, you can get multiple searches. And it's the coolest card ever made in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, in my opinion. Play one Monolith. He looks like a brick because he is a brick. However, he draws you cards in the grind game every time a Qliphort monster is tributed, or up to at your end phase, he draws cards up to the number of Qlis that have been tributed. And he's a 1 scale, so this is your preferred 1 scale. You don't want to see him in your hand, so you just play one of them. And then I play 1 Carrier and 1 Helix. I really slimmed down the ratios of the Qli monsters because you really don't want to draw Qlis in your hand going first, except for Scout. So a lot of people, when they try to update this deck, they still play like a crap ton of Pendulum monsters and like 3 of this, 3 of that. Trust me, you're going to clog on them. You only want to see Scout plus a hand trap and a floodgate. That's what I'm trying to see. Just play Scout control. Basically, this one, when it's tributed, bounces a monster. This one, when it's tributed, pops a spell or trap. They're unaffected by monsters lower than their levels, and they each have scale effects. He makes monsters go down by 300 on your opponent's side. He makes your Qlis go up by 300 on your side. Pretty simple. Then I got the 1 Stealth. This is like your Mega Ryza of the deck. You can bounce a card on the field, and it cannot be responded to by card effects, so it's like a super poly in that sense. If this card resolves, the summon resolves, you don't have a judgment or something, your whole board's getting broken, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it because you can't respond. So what you do is, let's say I tributed this, you'd go Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, this one to bounce, this one to bounce. Neither one can be responded to when he's the final Chain Link. So, Stealth, nobody reads him, so it's too late when he comes down. Then for my normal summon, I play triple Inspector Border. You don't really want to normal summon the regular Qlis going first. You just want to search your Floodgate with Scout. So this is the preferred normal summon. It's not crazy good against Kash, but it's good against every other rogue deck in the game. And this is, there's quite a bit of rogue at my locals. So Inspector Border is a good normal summon. You also don't really need your monster effects too often. Triple Ash Blossom is my first hand trap. Ash, best hand trap in the game. Then I decided to play Triple D Shifter in this deck. This is also a locals meta call. It's not good against Kash, but it's good against everything else, and this deck does not care about anything getting banished, so definitely Shifter. You need a lot of hand traps in here to be able to go second in this deck. Unfortunately, that's the symptom of power creep. 1 Card of Demise. This card was played in Qliphorts back in the day, and we still play it to this day, despite it being limited. Draw 3 cards. Pretty insane. Locks you out of special summoning, but we don't do that very often. Play Triple Proud of Prosperity. This card really helps with the consistency in the deck. It is expensive. You are more than welcome to play Extrav or Desires even, and you'll probably have almost as good a time. So I traded to get to this. I didn't spend the money on it, but I'm still a budget player, but I splurged on the extra Prosperity, I guess. Triple Pot of Duality. Just another way to thin your deck. Doesn't conflict with your other draw power. You don't special summon. Pretty simple. Pretty simple indeed. Triple Summoner's Art. This is 3 more copies of Qliphort Scout or Monolith. Basically, it just searches them, not once per turn. It's really the reason why the deck is so consistent. So Summoner's Art's very good. I play my favorite equip spell in the game, which is Sacrifice. It has 4 effects. 1 gives your monster immunity to battle, gives it 300 attack. Searches when it hits the graveyard for a Qliphort monster, and then it makes your monster count for 2 tributes for the summon of a Qli monster. So this is how you enable your stealth combo, which breaks the board. You're going to usually do Sacrifice Chainlink 1 to search, Carrier or Helix Chainlink 2 to pop or bounce, Stealth Chainlink 3 to bounce, and the whole chain can't be responded to. So this is kind of like your Guardian Chimera, Mega Ryza play of the deck. Yeah, this card was limited for a reason. One of the best equipped spells, easily top 5 best equipped spells in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. Then my favorite Floodgate in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yes, even more than Mystic Mine. This is Recreate. It says any monster that's normal summoned that's level 4 or lower gets negated for the rest of the turn. Any monster that's special summoned that's level 5 or higher also gets negated until the end of the turn. Also banish it when it leaves the field. This is the one that you're going to be searching off of Scout. This card isn't like a one-card lockdown like Mystic Mind or Skill Drain on its own, but when you combine this with any other Floodgate or a couple hand traps, it just becomes the most oppressive thing ever. It's pretty funny how it fills in the gaps that your other Floodgates leave. So the banishing monsters when they leave the field is really what clinches this card as being such an insane Floodgate. And it's always going to be relevant. Even though it doesn't affect Links and Xyz, it still banishes a lot of good stuff, negates a lot of good stuff. Card's pretty insane. That's why it's my favorite Floodgate. This is another one of my favorite Floodgates. Good old Skill Drain, my beat up copies. It probably synergizes with this deck better than any other because it makes all your monsters have their original attack and their original levels and doesn't hurt you at all. Hopefully it doesn't go to 1 like it did in the OCG. We just gotta pray. Triple Gozen match. Sometimes this is even better than Skill Drain lately because your opponent just can't summon anything when this is on the field. You can play pretty well around this. You might have to get rid of a border, but that doesn't matter when we lock them under Gozen. Not a big fan of Rivalry right now. There's just too many mono-type decks, so I prefer Gozen. Gozen's crazy right now. Then we play triple Imperm hand traps just to, you know, help us go second. Pretty simple once again. Triple Evenly in the main deck is the last card, 40 cards. This card is extremely necessary because this deck can't really break boards with just Engine without playing a whole bunch of Bricky Pendulum monsters. I'm just playing like Scout Turbo, so the idea is we just draw a hand trap, a Floodgate, and Scout, and that usually is enough to win, and evenly cleans up boards that this deck would otherwise have no way of grinding out. That is the unfortunate symptom of power creep. This deck needs support, Konami. Speaking of deck needing support, this is the last support we got. Extra deck, Qliphort Genius. It's the only Qliphort extra deck monster that there is, and it sucks. I make this one in every like 20 games, and I only really make it for the link arrows. It searches if 2 monsters are summoned to the link arrows, which is fine, but never comes up. It's immune to spell and traps, and immune to other link monsters effects, which is cool, but never comes up because it's too small to not get swung over at 1800 attack. If this card were indestructible by battle, it would be really good, or if it has also a negate effect, but it's only on your turn, not a quick effect. If either the negate was a quick effect, or this was indestructible by battle, or both, this card would be insane. It isn't, so it's not. More support, please, Konami. Cherry's Target. I ended up ripping this in the tournament, and it was very easy to clean up the game after that. Game 1, he handed me his extra deck to banish with Extra, and I banished all 3 Sarahs, so I just basically kept him off Sarah the entire match, which was hilarious. Monk of the Tenyi, that's for Sword Souls. If they start with Tenyis, you got to rip that. The guy who won the Indie Regional goes to my locals, so we got to play Striker Dragon to respect that deck. Sometimes it can hurt their combo, especially if you have their other hand traps, if you rip that with cherries. Jasmine for the plant players at locals, specifically 1. You know who you are. Coral Anemone. We have 1 Marincess player at locals. You know who you are. Scareclaw Tryhard. We have 1 Scareclaw player at our locals. You know who you are. Mirror Jade. We have a crap ton of branded players at our locals. This deck doesn't care about the gimmick puppets, so I play this one over Grand Guganol. I know they can make it next turn, but keeps it off it for 1 turn, and that's all I need to set up a Floodgate. So we have a Drytron player at our locals, and this deck is actually starting to see some tops, so ripping this is actually pretty good. It does hurt the combo a lot. Same with Sprite. Gigantic Sprite hurts the combo if you rip it with cherries. Alimbertion, this cuts them off of a search, a summon. Yeah, pretty nice. Make a Rise Heart and pass. Can't have that happen, so we got to cherries it. Sargass, I have not used this as a cherries target yet. I might someday, I might not. I don't know why it's still in here. Nap Beast, because activate Scout, pay 800. Chain Nap Beast, makes me cry. Sword Soul, Chi-Xiao, because you don't want him to get to Baron, you don't want him to get to Blackout. Then we got the side deck. I played triple evenly in the main, so I didn't have a super huge back row hate package, but this deck can have some funky matchups against Labyrinth and Eldritch, so if those start picking up some more, I may increase the back row hate. And then I believe triple Regeki is mandatory in this deck because one of my biggest weaknesses is my opponent's putting up a monster that's like 2,500 to 3,000 attack. Sometimes it takes quite a few resources to get over that, and sometimes I can lose an otherwise winning game state to a large attack monster, so I believe this card's kind of mandatory in my testing. It was really frustrating losing to just like Blue Eyes White Dragon pass. Solemn Judgment, you put your back row deck, you have to negate the evenlies. Not too much to say. Iron Wall, your back row deck, you have to negate the evenlies. but you also have to negate the Fenrir's. You also have to stop the runic cards because I have no other way of beating that deck. Iron Wall, definitely needed. Then you saw the extra deck, so there's the Winter Cherries, big surprise. This is not going to be the first or last time you see Winter Cherries in a deck profile on Metasheep Slaughterhouse. I love this card. I think it's really underrated, and since I'm a stun player, I rarely end up going into the extra deck in a lot of my decks. So, then last card in the deck is the one Pankratops. You already know, Saki one of. Pushes through back row, pushes through front row, big beater. So, that's the deck profile, Metasheep Slaughterhouse. The earth is flat, don't be a Metasheeple, don't be a Globehead Sheeple. Gold Rares are amazing, Maxi can never come back. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the best. Qliphort Scout, pay 800.